What's up, Summoners? King Blair here. Today, for Top 5 Tuesday, we're going to be talking about the top 5 units who benefited the most from the RTA Frenzy changes. If you need a reminder from the previous video that we talked about with the Frenzy changes, here are the changes and I'll quickly summarize it. Essentially, instead of having increased damage to all skills, we now have increased attack that scales pretty fast actually. And we now have a new thing that increases effectiveness as Frenzy goes on, stacking up quite rapidly, and by Frenzy 5 being a really nice solid buff. And of course, also decrease healing and decrease max health does occur faster. So, if you like the video, make sure you like, subscribe, and join the Discord server, link down in the description. Alright, without further ado, let's get into the top 5, starting off with an honorable mention. So one thing that we have to think about when we see the units that benefited the most from Frenzy and RTA are units that can use both the new changes. That means they have to probably scale off of attack to be able to do better, and also having a skill that can benefit from that effectiveness is also very solid. But the reason why I want to start with an honorable mention, because this is one that could easily have made it to this list, because she actually does better with the changes compared to other heroes, and that is going to be Cecilia. And you might be wondering, wait a minute, isn't decreased max health dropping faster? Yes, but the other thing that's dropping fast as well is decreased healing, and ironically, this barrier is not affected by the decrease in healing, just by the small change in the max health. And while that may sound weird, other supports are getting much weaker. Units that could before keep your team sustained with a lot of like heals won't be able to do that as much, but the barrier for the most part is going to be the same, and it is essentially functions as a heal. The other thing that Cecilia does very well is going to be the provoke that she has. Already is 100% provoke, and it's going to be easier to land this provoke on other units. If you're able to get like 60% effectiveness by Frenzy 4, you already have 110% effectiveness. You're going to have an opportunity to land on every single unit in this game, which is just crazy to me that you'll be able to lock down units with Cecilia. So Cecilia definitely taking a big buff, although not as big as some of the other units. So alright, now let's start with the number 5, who, like the other units, may not seem as big as first until you realize the potential that you have with this unit. And it's actually going to be Lilius, more particularly the crit damage Lilius build. So why? She actually does benefit from both the different effects. Typically, people weren't really building that much effectiveness on their Liliuses, right? But she does start with some effectiveness. If you give her some spare gear that has some effectiveness and maybe get like 40-50, again, by Frenzy 4, that becomes 90 to even potentially 100, depending how much effectiveness you can get from substats. And at that point, you're going to be able to lock down priority units and priority tanks, such as Kral, when Kral is getting ready to be able to S3, and other units with big skills that normally you would not be able to lock down. And this provoke is game breaking with 2 turns of just being able to lock down a unit. But that is not all that she's benefiting from. Her S3, which is an AoE attack, and the reason why I mentioned the crit hit damage build is because she does damage based on the attack of the hero with the highest attack on your party, not her own. And we know that instead of increased damage, we now have increased attack. You know what that means? This is going to be scaling much faster. So with the crit hit damage build, if they don't kill your DPS by the time you get to like Frenzy 2, Frenzy 3, you're doing significantly more damage by the time that this skill comes up again, and most likely are going to be executing Spectre Tenebrious. Because of Lilius being so fast, she'll be able to lap so quickly, and only having a 4-turn cooldown, you will be getting the skill back up by Frenzy 3 and finishing up a Spectre Tenebria if they don't have any sustain. So very solid change to upgrade to Lilius. And again, the S1 being able to attack with that other damage dealer is just amazing. Seeing a lot more of her overall, both because of the S2 being more effective as well as the S3, and just her being an amazing unit. Again, Lilius, number 5. Now, on to the number 4. At the number 4, we have an old friend that a lot of you guys probably wish was gone forever, but she has actually become better with the new changes. Seaside Bologna. Seaside Bologna has directly benefited from the changes to Frenzy, both the effectiveness and the attack percentage increase. So again, you might be wondering why the attack percentage increase, right? It doesn't seem like she would benefit any more than the damage that was before. So one thing you have to realize, and it's kind of cheating a little bit, but when you think about Cisa Bellona, what artifact does she usually run? Rengar specialty drink. And what is Rengar specialty drink damage based off? Attack. So I'll go really quickly over the artifact in a second. But the other thing is also, CSET has a ton of debuffs. This S2 letting the decreased defense, late game, now being able, people were already building CSETs at 60% effectiveness. And by Frenzy 4, again, just 32 turns into the fight. That's just around like 3 skill rotations for all the heroes. She's already going to have an extra 50%, putting her at 110, allowing you to hit units like Tanky Ruels way more easily. And then the S3 as well, being able to land these nasty debuffs, just being so great, and the S1, making the effectiveness making use of the effectiveness increase for sure. But again, the other thing that you may not have thought about is going to be the interaction with Drangar's specialty drink, which is the artifact that she's commonly on. This does damage proportionate to the caster's attack, and now with the attack increase, drink splash damage is also doing a ton more damage. So overall, you're not only doing more damage off of your S2, your drink is also proccing extra damage, making SSB a very scary AoE machine. And I know a lot of people that have been abusing her in the recent meta. The reason she doesn't rank higher is because there are still the traditional counters to her, such as Emerald Crow and Rowana. They still counter her, and she still basically functions the same way as basically they don't have an answer to it. You're probably winning. But now let's move on to the number 3. Now for the number 3, we have none other than Ambitious Tywin. Ambitious Tywin has become an insane unit. He was already one of the most powerful units in RTA in the previous season, but now in this season, with the increases to effectiveness, Tywin typically had a struggle of, I want speed, I want effectiveness, I also would like some crit hit rate, some crit hit damage. He was a very greedy unit, and it was very hard to get him to 150% effectiveness while also maintaining good tank stats and a good speed stat to be able to land the stun and the provoke on priority target heroes. Now, you no longer have to make that much of a sacrifice, and my Tywin at 115 effectiveness reaches 140 in 24 turns, and with the Soulburn allowing you to do this almost every 3 turns, the second you get your first Soulburn S3 off, you are gonna be stunning everything every other turn, which is just insane to think about that and how powerful Tywin is. He becomes a menace that if you don't kill him early on, he has the capability to stun your team no matter how tanky your team is, unless of course you bring immunity to the table, which might want to start doing that. But yeah, he definitely has benefited a lot from the effectiveness and the attack. While his skills do scale off of health, and as we mentioned, that may not be the best, his ratios are crazy enough that the attack increase, he does have some slight attack percentage. He does scale a little bit with attack, so it's not the worst thing in the world. So the damages don't even hurt him as much. But the effectiveness one is huge because you don't have to make that trade-off that you used to have. So again, it's just the effectiveness one. It's just super duper good for him. Now, on to the number 2. We have none other than Ravi. Ravi is nuts right now. You guys know I love Ravi. I've made a full guide. I've made 2 showcases. I love Ravi. I love using her. She's amazing. But why is she so much better? She directly benefits from both effectiveness and from the attack percentage increase. And the decrease in max health and the decrease in healing doesn't really hurt her that much, because she heals based on the damage she deals. So even though the healing is reduced, you're doing way more damage, which means you're already going to be healing more. So it kind of counteracts, and she's still going to be healing like basically full health every time she swings her axe if you have Sigurd Scythe, right? So she still heals quite easily because, hey, healing's reducing, but I'm also doing more damage, so I'm just overall healing more than I would because I'm doing more damage, if that makes any sense. The other thing is that she has direct attack scaling on her S2, and this is going to be compounded with the new attack percent increase in RTA, making her an insane late game unit. The amount of damage this unit does in high frenzy is insane. If you get to frenzy 4 and you have a Ravi and they don't have a way to lock her down, you're most likely winning that fight, even if she's the only unit left standing on your team. The other thing is that both the S1 and the S3 halfway to stun, and Ravi already starts inherently with 50% effectiveness once she gets this to max stacks. That does make it so you are more easily going to be able to um, do higher damage and be able to just destroy the opponent and stun, right? So the stun is the crazy part. Being able to stun more reliably with 110% effectiveness. So again, very, very, very spicy passive and very, very powerful. So now you may be wondering, who could be at the number one? What unit in this roster could have benefited the most from these changes? And that is actually going to be Tempest Surin. Tempest Surin has become one of the craziest units in RTA recently. She already was a good unit, but in this season has become extremely more valuable due to the frenzy changes. Why? The effectiveness increase on the S1 and the S3 are very, very nice. The S1, applying bleeds, does more damage to single target. The S3 has some of the nastiest debuffs that you could imagine. Unable to be buffed is crushing in certain situations, and the silence in critical moments is absolutely disgusting. And the fact that it's on a 3-turn cooldown makes it so you can cycle this extremely fast and now land it more reliably on higher tank units, making it so your opponent doesn't have the same comeback potential or the same way to sustain against your Tempest Surin. It just becomes a lot harder. The attack percentage increase also allowing her to do more damage. Again, it doesn't affect her damage versus attack. She's still doing a ton of damage with the extra attack. The other thing, ironically, the fact that decreased max health drops faster actually benefits Surin more than if there wasn't as fast. Why? They can already only do 50%. So she's going to be able to be killing earlier, but she doesn't care because it's still only going to be 50% max health that you can do damage to her. And that also means the damage you're doing is increasing. And if you have a lifesteal set on her, she'll easily be able to heal over that 50%, even with the cut in healing, because she's just doing more damage and she has a smaller health pool. So in a way, it's better that she has a smaller health pool because it's easier for her to heal it over 50%, allowing her to essentially live for an extremely long time and making it extremely hard for the opponent to take it down, unless, of course, they bring a Lilius or a top model Luluka or all these different units that they could potentially bring. But yes, Surin definitely the one that benefited the most from these new changes. But that is all I have for you guys today. All these units are amazing units, and they are starting to see very high levels of meta relevance. If not, they already didn't have it. And there are several other units that, of course, we could go on and discuss. Like Spectre T, she was still already broken, which is why I didn't really include her because she's still OP, and it was just mainly the attack. The effectiveness is also very nice for her. But the other three definitely, the other five definitely help them a lot more. But that is all I have for you guys today. I hope you enjoyed, and I will see y'all next time.